Hi Karan, welcome to our episode 8 of Dhi Atman Show. And tonight we are going to discuss about a book called The Eternities Vedanta Treatise. And it actually, we are going to talk about practical Vedanta. And I have a guest. His name is Karan and he's expert in Vedanta. So go ahead and Karan and introduce yourself and please let us know why and why you got interest on in Vedanta.
Thank you so much. I First of all, I appreciate you creating a channel and an opportunity for people to talk about some of these topics, and inviting me for this. I would say I'm no expert because there's multiple people who have done ages of studies on this, and compared to that, I would say I'm still scratching, and I think that's one reason why I feel that it can connect with a lot more people because I would not pretend to say that it's better for me to connect because I'm doing my daily work. I have a family. I have a very standard corporate job. So I'm pretty much facing the same realities that anyone is facing. But having said that, how can Vedanta be lived has been a lifelong journey, and that's something which I would say is the Vedanta treatise has been my starting point and foundational in creating a concept around what a good living should consist of and how to see the world actually. I mean, to make sense of so many things happening from different angles, and there is so this gives you a foundation to stand on to position yourself and then be able to deal with various, I would say, uncertainties of the worlds which keep hitting us all the time. So that's basically where it started off. Very quick background. I think, as I mentioned, 20 years in corporate life. I've played multiple roles, various different leadership, learning and development, technology related. My start for the Vedanta started when I did my MBA, and in as part of my curriculum in Symbiosis Center for Management and HRD, which is in Pune. Vedanta and Vipassana were two of the part of the curriculum. So it kind of gave us a very, I would say, entry level understanding. We were still fresh graduates, so I would say we did not understand that as much. But over a period of time, stuck to it, kept going back, kept using some of the lessons, wisdom out of it, and then eventually it became so foundational that everything that we are doing, I'm doing, it's based out of somewhere. It comes out of the book here.
Okay. So, without wasting time, I'm going to read a quick story for our viewers and I'm going to ask an opinion about the story from Karan. In a puppet show, the artist is not seen by the audience. From his unseen position, he manipulates a number of wires to activate the puppet. The audience is thrilled at their movement and gesture. Children look upon their inert bodies as free agents. Consider them to be independent actors. They are not grown up to visualize the wires and the artist behind the show, but others with a limited insight spot the wires yet fail to recognize the artist behind it. So yes, can you relate the stories to our practical life? And what is this artist he's talking about?
So this is part of the again the broader understanding of this is there's several aspects to it, but at the end of it, if you the analogy of puppet and the story behind the person is pretty much used in several places. Even I would say Shakespeare has said that something very similar. But the basic idea is that a lot of things are happening to us. We are aware while we are doing a few things. There are a lot of things which happen by itself, and so I would say there are points of time when you feel that okay, there's someone else who's doing all the gameplay, and then there are times when you feel no, this is me who has to do the all the work, and I'm getting the results of my effort and all of those things. But if you really dig deeper, all of the existence is happening by itself. There are like things which has happened before you, after you, and it will continue to happen. So essentially, if you don't look at the deeper, and so what the author here is trying to, and A. Parthasarathi, he's a deep he spent his entire lifetime studying and teaching Vedanta. So he is brought up or brought in this book a lot of stories which have deep wisdom. So here the wisdom point is that we get so mesmerized in the gameplay that we forget that this is really someone else is directing it or someone else is playing it, and those are just actors. So you are like so emotionally invested in it, like when children laugh or if someone falls, or someone dies, you're literally crying. But the fact is, it's just a gameplay.
So who's that artist? The god is the artist?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
That is the whole essence of Vedanta, is trying to explain the interplay of what is God, what is the I would say Brahman, which is the material and existence itself, and who is this person who's seeing it and trying to make sense out of it. Again, we can spend a lot more time on that, but I'll close it for now. But I think we can go deeper into it as we go.
Okay, so moving on to a new story for our viewers. So Janaka was a king imbued with spiritual wisdom. One night he dreamt he was a beggar. He woke up from the shocking dream and summoned his counselor. To them he posed his famous question: Am I a King Janaka who dreamt that I was a beggar, or am I a beggar now dreaming that I am a king? The counselor were confused and did not know what the king meant. So they brought in the sage Ash- Ashvara to
Ashtavakra.
Ashtavakra to answer the question. The sage gave these pearls of wisdom to the king. You are neither King Janaka nor the beggar. You are the supreme self, the Atman. Yeah. So, what do you have to tell about that?
So this is a very often used story. It's actually in, if I'm not wrong, Mandukya Upanishad. This comes in where Janaka, as you would know, is father of Sita and a very critical role in Ramayana. He's seen as a enlightened king, an epitome of someone who can be in the material world, who can be in a political position, yet be, have all the wisdom of someone who is a sadhu, or who's an enlightened being, but in the workspace. So and this story has significance of, and it comes to a very deep concept of Vedanta. One of the concept is the sleeper, the waker, and the deep sleeper. That forms the consciousness of basically that forms the whole consciousness of a being. There is a fourth level of consciousness, which is Turiya. Now, Turiya, it's by itself is really not a fourth state, but it is the recognition that all these three states are same, or it not same, but you are seeing those. The person who is experiencing those three states is the same. So that's Turiya. But here, what Janaka's question is a way to say that, am I dreaming? Is this a dream itself that I'm living in? Or the dream that I saw was real, and now, what is real and what is not real? So Ashtavakra, who's again one of the most enlightened beings, his insight here is spot on, saying that you're neither this nor that, which brings you to the concept of in Vedanta, which is you, the experiencer, is the Brahman. So Atman is Brahman, is one of the translated version of, and there are four Mahavakya, Tatma, thou art that, which is Tat Amasi. And so all of that essentially points out is that you, the experiencer, is not a different entity as Brahman, and the ignorance which lies is what keeps you away from recognizing that this is separate, and the world is separate, and your individual is separate, and I have to kind of achieve things and get things and all of those things. That difference is what is being said by the story.
Okay. So, yeah, so I just want to read one more thing from the self analysis.
Mhm.
It says that the human tendency is to be extrovert. Instead of seeking the self within, people pursue the external world for pleasure, joy, and knowledge. They get involved in mundane affairs and the mind becomes restless and agitated. The intellect loses its clarity to inquire into essence of life. Attached to the material equipment and their endless demands and run after the world to appease them, not realizing that the physical, emotional, and intellectual appetites are insatiable. So, means you'll have to look introvert rather than being extrovert. Do you have anything to say on that one?
To understand the reality of existence. So, if here I would like to give a very quick rundown of a few concepts, then it
Yeah.
will make sense.
Okay, okay. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so the first concept that we have to recognize is, what is life? Life is a series of experiences that you and I are having, right? The quality of experience determines the quality of your life. So if you have like great experiences, positive experiences, your life is great. Negative experience, but the complexity there is, there's no guarantee that if you had great past experiences in life, it will continue. Or some people's start of life itself is experiences are pretty bitter. How do you take that into consideration? So what analysis which has gone into it, and why Vedanta is so foundational and why everyone should really learn Vedanta, is because it kind of breaks it down into three elements, which is, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's the self, the outside world, and someone who controls both of these things. Someone, let's call it God, or call it, just don't give a name to it.
Okay.
Okay, so but what is your experiences right now? It's yourself and the world. The better understanding of the world you have, the better understanding of the self you have, your experiences will become better. Why? Because the expectations will be set. Now, because if you don't know what the world is and you know a little bit of yourself, your experiences will or expectations will be mismatched, your experiences will be bitter. When your understanding of the world is good, your understanding of yourself is good, your expectation is matched, your life and your experiences will be foundationally great. So that breakdown of what is the world, what is the self we are talking about, that comes out in this. So now being introvert is a point of knowing yourself. How can you know yourself without not self analysis, not going internal, in sense what's going on in your head? For instance, what are your aspirations, what are your when nothing is happening, what are the thoughts playing on in your head? Are you thinking about a new creative projects? Are you thinking about some random banter that you had with some ex-colleague? Or you're thinking about anxieties of what will happen to my kid after 2 years? So that is the introversion that is being, which is, and those thoughts are playing around. Again, that's a topic by itself. What is this breakdown of self, which is the elements of rajas, tamas, and sattva playing out, and what is the elements of the world itself, or the outside Brahman, and what are the elements that interact with it, and how did that happen. So sorry, a long-winded answer, but does require a deeper
Deeper analysis.
analysis of
Like,
it.
to live a better life, you have to introspect basically your thoughts and everything,
you
your
need to
actions.
you need to introspect to build a better understanding of the world and better understanding of yourself. That's when, so there is a portion in this book where it talks, and it's there in Gita also. It is, you have to act based on your swadharma,
Mm.
which is your nature, inherent nature. If it is in your inherent nature, you will do genuinely good job of it. If it is not your inherent nature, while you may be able to accomplish it, you will always be angry, bitter, or just not happy with what's going on in general.
Okay. All right. So this is one thing I really very practical. I want to read. You should therefore refrain from finding flaws in others, criticizing others' failings. Behind every flaw you recognize in another, perhaps you have the same more pronounced in you. The energy you waste in judging others could as well serve to improve yourself. Like, this is really important. Like, this is very practical. What do you have to say on that?
So this basically, it happens all the time, right? I mean, this is again very, very practical and relevant part of it. Uh, Again, when we are taking a position of judging someone, we are taking certain assumptions about what is right, what is wrong, and discarding a lot of elements of the other person's, I would say, circumstances. So when we are doing that, at that point of time, our judgment of that individual is heavily colored. And I would say that the basic point here, and if we can practice this on a daily basis, that those points which anger you or make you feel even superior or inferior against someone is a point of reflection for yourself, because it is the point where your innate nature is coming out, and your nature is that you are threatened by something. That's why you feel either superior or intimidated for on a certain circumstance. So if you kind of cut that down into, instead of judging, and later on you will realize that instead of judgment, it is the part of compassion. Someone is angry, and showing compassion at that point of time, if you are at the receiving end, is extremely difficult. But if you have a framework where you understand that this person is actually not acting because he's acting like this because he has gone through certain situations, you suddenly become more compassionate about that person. And the approach changes. So instead of judging like, hey, this is such a stupid person, this person is like, this person needs some help.
But don't you think that if you constantly somebody's angry, it's kind of abuse, and it's a person can, it is a limit how much a person can take?
I didn't talk about whether you should take it on a constant basis.
Okay.
It is about knowing that this is what is going on in that person's life,
Okay.
and that person requires help. But there are again two, three levels for your own individual state. When you are in that very high state of life, you can deal with this individual for a longer period of time. But if you are not in that high state, the best choice that you have is to avoid that person and keep your sanity and your balance at the end of it. And this is where this book also starts with the mental agitation is the key to a happy experience, happy life, right? If your mind is agitated, or if someone is saying something which is agitating your mind, that's a good point for you to take a step back. Like, you don't have to deal with all that. Feel compassionate, give advice, don't feel bitter, come out of it and live a happy life.
Okay. So I just want to say that one more thing that I marked while I was reading. Try and remember every experience you have gone through in a sequence from the time of rising to the moment of introspecting. This exercise should not take you more than 5 to 6 minutes. While doing so, do not analyze or criticize your action, only be aware. When you remember the action over and over again, you become aware, and constant recollection of daily action would render you intellect alert. So you always have to introspect and analyze your actions and reactions on a daily basis.
Absolutely. So I mean, your again, as I mentioned, I mean, the core of it, if you keep reminding yourself, your life is set of experiences. In the experiences, there are experiences where you are either learning something or you're practicing something new for your future, right? So you, especially if you're going into a daily routine kind of thing, that also is a reflection on the habits or the innate, again, in the word uses vasanas of your and vasanas are basically which things which come out automatically from you. In other contexts, this doesn't mention in this book, but it could be also seen as your impressions from your previous lives and things like that, or your personalities or genetic code that you carry forward from your parents. There's several ways to say it, but essentially, you when you grow up or when you are born, you start not with a blank slate, but with a personality, which is your vasana,
Karma.
which could be again that vasanas
Karma,
are
genetic,
reflect,
genetic
yes,
code. Yeah.
all of that, right? So basically, when you are getting and doing things over and over again, one of the things that we become, I would say, numb to, because you do it so often, so regularly, is that awareness that this may require correction.
So correction, basically, you can correct your genetic code. If your genetic code is not right or your karma is not right, you can correct it by your constant introspection.
Awareness,
Wow.
creating,
Don't
reflecting.
do that. This is not right. Don't do it. Like
Yeah,
something like
not
that.
not just intellectually saying that.
Yeah.
First of all, being compassionate and knowing that, oh, I am this kind of person,
Yeah.
right? So the other point which I was saying, that the whole rajas, tamas, and sattvic nature of an individual is the, and there is a balance of it, right? Nobody is a pure tamasic character. And again, for explanation, tamasic is lazy, in a dull nature of which exists in material world. It's related to material world, like the rocks are, just stay there. uh, the rajas element is your passion, emotion, being very very involved in things and so on. So a lot of that happens, and sattvic is being calm and composed and being able to deal with
So
most of
what
this.
are these three things?
these
Rajas,
these are
Tamas, Sattvic. What
these
are?
are the inherent nature elements which are there in all individuals, all humans.
Okay, so you are saying that all these elements should be balanced?
These elements make up a person. So when you're doing that introspection, and there is later part of the book, it does show where to introspect and so on. So there are sattvic emotions, there are tamasic emotions, and there are rajasic emotions. Same thing is there are tamasic actions, sattvic actions, and rajasic actions. Now, when you're introspecting yourself, you are trying to first of all position. So first step to knowing the whole is to know yourself. Know yourself is knowing your nature and what is your starting point, which is will be a mix of this. So if your nature, for instance, is very very, you are a very emotional and very passionate person, so that means your rajasic element is higher
Okay.
in general, right? Otherwise, you are slightly on. You have a lot of sattvic nature. Basically, brings out the compassion, the calm, the more organized, all of those set of things. So that means you have a more of sattvic nature. Tamasic nature are basically elements which pull you down typically, or you have like longing for having certain kind of food or certain kind of experiences and things like that. Now, why this is important is because the prescription, and the best part of this book is, depending on your starting point, is your where your journey starts, which is again in Gita episode you had the karma yoga, bhakti yoga,
Jnana
jnana
yoga.
yoga.
Yeah.
So that matches with this completely. So if you have a lot of emotional starting point, that is basically you should start with bhakti yoga, because you are naturally passionate. You will have a dedicated devotion towards a deity. The Gyan Yoga is typically for sattvic nature of someone who can do, do deeper study, understand, break down, do the analysis, all of those things. For Karma Yoga is directly matches with the Rajasic temperament, if I have to. So now Rajasic has both, if you notice. Rajasic has the emotional part and the action part also. So you have to figure out in that which is your inherent. Are you a karma yogi? Like you have to do seva and all of those things. And all of that is starting point, which will make you calmer. You will start preparing for deeper analysis, which will happen through meditation. When you start going into layer after layer of meditation at initial stage is just being aware of here and now, which is what Vipassana teaches, which is seeing things as is. Then it goes to a layer deeper, which is you are able to see your negative tendencies. You are able to see your nature, which are obstructing, self-obstructing nature that everyone has actually, and so on. So this is the overall path. So starting with just the nature and gunas, it starts to going into the path, going into how do you prepare for it, and then eventually get deeper into the self-absorption. So.
All right. Before we move on to our next half of our discussion,
Sure.
do you have anything to say to my viewers of Dhi Atman Show?
First of all, please like, subscribe, share the Atman Show, the channel. I've seen each of the videos. They are very fascinating topics, and I'm really enjoying the series actually. So
All right. Thank you
would
so
love
much.
to see more people join in.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on to our next, topic. I know you've already been discussing the state of consciousness, waking, dream, deep sleep, like that story, right? In the waking, you're you're a king. In the dream, you are like a beggar. Deep sleep is somewhere I read it is like nothingness or something
Nothingness,
void or
yeah.
something like that. Yeah, can you go a little bit elaborate on that one?
So this is basically the I would say a little. This is the metaphysical part of the Vedanta, and are trying to understand. This basic question which it is driving is who am I, and who am I, and the analysis of the self it starts with this aspect of what is called the consciousness, which is being an observer of your own things in the waking time. So and there is a constancy of I, like I am seeing, I am talking right now, I will be going out and driving, I will have something else to do, and so on. So that I is there. When you're in the dream, you see the dream, and even in the dream you have something called an I. So
Inception. Have you seen
yeah,
Inception?
of course. Yeah. So that's why
Is it like based on this Vedanta?
I would not be surprised if he had. I feel definitely Christopher Nolan would have, seen the concept of
Yeah.
this whole dreamer and the more importantly, Matrix is exactly based on the concepts of Advaita Vedanta actually.
Can you little bit elaborate? I want to know about
Yeah.
that.
So the concept of Matrix is this. Obviously, if most everyone has seen it, but the when the person wakes up, his perceptions are like he's a programmer. He's living a life in a city. All of those things. But there is a constant nagging question: is this real? Is this what it is? And then there is the whole concept of going deeper and come freeing out of it. Now, in Matrix, the way they use is they whatever we consider real is based on perceptions. So if I can manipulate your vision, your tongue, your smell and taste and touch, all of those things, I can create fantastic worlds where you because your experience, it's a virtual reality basically. You're living in a virtual world and you're thinking that, oh wow, this is what it is, this is the truth, but there is someone who's projecting it. So that was the concept of the Vedanta itself, saying that what you are seeing is Maya.
So this whatever we are doing, like we're living in a house, we're eating food, we're watching movie, this is all Maya.
This is the reflection of Maya.
So what is real?
That is what is the whole concept of getting to the state of Turiya, the realization that, and which is basically taking, if I have to put it in contemporary words, is basically taking a step back. Like, if this is the real, then what happens after, what happens before? Is this limited to the scope? You're expanding the scope of your, what you say as I is right now, here and now. But if I were to say that you have lived multiple lives, so who is that I then? And even if I remove that, if I take this life itself, you have changed multiple bodies. You had the child body, you had the adolescent body, teenage body, then the overall. Now, is that I is the body? Not really, because it kept changing. Is your mental state has changed. Earlier you used to think that there were a certain aspects, that personality has changed. So when everything is changing, then who's the I? That I is the constant consciousness that all of this thing is happening to me, is how Vedanta kind of, it expands the scope. First of all, in the existence, like awake world, it takes it back to the dream world. It takes it back to deep sleep world. So deep sleep, where it comes in deep sleep, you are not aware of your I, first of all, because there's no dream. But when you wake up, you're like, I had a great sleep. Refreshing, very refreshing. I feel very refreshed. Deep sleep happened, right? So you had the sense of I post awaking, but that I was sleeping at that point of time, right? And if you expand the scope further out, is where it is saying that, so everything which is being perceived is not the reality, is what it says. And that's where the matrix comes into picture. That's where like manipulation comes into. So even the world, which if you have to kind of change certain elements of it and not make it so grandiose, just take the life in America versus life in India. There are certain assumptions you make here, and there's certain assumptions you make in India, and then you believe that that's how reality is, till you come to US, and then you're like, no, that's not real. these are things we thought was always gonna be like this. It's not true. Same thing happens when someone who's grown up here goes back to India. So like, How is this possible, right? So that reality changes depending on the context, depending on this. And that is what is the whole spread of your I consciousness. The ultimate merger of that I is the reflection that the universe and you are not different. All what is happening is you are the experiencer of the universe, which is basically, imagine a scenario where you don't exist. That's it. The universe, for that moment which it created you, you experience the universe through that, and then it switches. And this is not Vedanta, but I'm just a thought concept. If I a thought experiment, if you take that thought experiment and you say that, hey, nothing exists after I, so the universe has literally collapsed.
For me. But the universe still exists.
For you,
Yeah.
but the point is, you it doesn't matter after that anyways,
Yeah.
whether it exists, doesn't exist. It exists in a different form, and also all of that becomes, a different form of speculation. You don't know what happens after that. But so here it says that the Brahman, the whole creation, you are basically the wave in that ocean. So how long is the wave's existence? It exists for some time, but it is not different from the ocean. So you can't say that that is it. That wave is a short-lived wave and it'll go away, but the ocean will stay, and that's how it explains everything in reality. And that, so if you anchor yourself in that reality, how will your life become more happier is the question which I ask myself, if I have to be very honest. Like, okay, so I understood this, that how does that make any difference, because I still have bills to pay, life to live, get promotion, get see my kids to college and all. The aspect there is that if you take a step back, if you expand your understanding of the whole reality and yourself, then what you're seeing, all of it, including your life, is just a play. And when you are in a play,
You're a puppet.
you're a puppet, but you have to do a really good job of acting it out.
Okay.
That's the play, and that's the conclusion which I take back. Think, okay, all of this is a huge drama created, by whoever, name whatsoever. It has created and it's spawned a character, which I was born in certain circumstances, and now that character has to build and do its thing and all of those things, knowing that at the end of it may not matter at all.
Yeah.
But at least you played a part which
You played your part very well.
really well. Yeah, you were the whatever Shah Rukh Khan of your your own life.
We're all in the drama.
Yes, that's how reconciliation happens. So now what it does is, if you are hit with certain eternal truths of life, which is one of them is death,
Mm-hmm.
of more than your own death, you're hit by someone near and dear ones, you are already aware the fact that this can happen, and this will happen at some point or the other. Will you feel sad at that? No, you will definitely feel sad. You'll feel maybe distorted, all of those things, but you still know that
You're aware.
that this was anyways gonna happen. This story is built in such a way that it will spawn something which you never thought about, and so on. So that's how I reconciled with understanding and dealing it in the practical way, and that's why I call it living Vedanta in the practical life.
Okay. So it was a good discussion. And do you have anything last minute comments to our viewers? And of course, we'll come back again for our next episode. I feel that this 30-40 minutes is not enough. But do you have any parting comments to our viewers?
So, parting comments to your viewers. Again, I think you're right. This is a topic which is a lifelong study. People have spent not only not their active life, but multiple lives have been spent on this, and it's fascinating topic. I think I really get every time I go back to. In fact, I was refreshing my memory of the book, and I found so many new things which I had not anchored in. I had probably read it, but I didn't felt it at that point of time, and so on. So, for the viewers, I would say pick up this book, read about it. Please ask your questions. It's a book by A. Parthasarathi, so all credit goes to him for doing that job. Um, from our side, from my side, I'm happy to come back whenever you call me. But what I would leave you all with is, live your life fully. It is limited, and it has glorious, I would say, mystic elements to it. So don't be extremely practical, or don't be extremely, don't leave away the the mystic part of it from your life, because then the joy of experiencing something new kind of fades out. But with that, I would say thank you so much for listening in.
Okay. Bye, Karan. Bye, everyone. Good luck.
Take care.